And we're starting off this list with Jinx. And if there's any Pokemon that resembles a harbinger of bad luck, it's definitely this one. Good God, just look at Jinx, or at least try to. I dare you to. Stare at this thing for too long and you'll be dealing with it in your nightmares later. Not only does Jinx have an incredibly peculiar appearance, to put it lightly, but its typing doesn't match how it looks. Then again though, what would feel like an accurate match for this thing? I guess I can kind of see the psychic part. Actually, that does 100% fit. Jinx looks like that fraud of a psychic, Sylvia Brown, who used to show up on Maury. Rest in peace, Sylvia. Throw those two up beside each other though. I don't know, I can kind of see it. In terms of the other half of its typing though, yeah, I don't see the ice part. All I see is a purple monster in a cheap princess costume from Spirit Halloween. Nothing against Spirit Halloween, and I gotta tell you, I don't like what I'm seeing and I don't understand what I'm seeing, so just get out of here, Jinx. Next on the list, Hitmonchan. First of all, I've always loved that name. Hitmonchan just rolls off the tongue, feels good on the lips. But what doesn't feel good on the brain is trying to decipher what the hell Hitmonchan is. Yes, I know it's a Pokemon, I know that, but where'd it get the boxing gloves? And why is it wearing a skirt? I mean, go ahead, go wear a skirt and box if you want, wear a tie-dye shirt, I don't care, but why does it just automatically have one? Is it something that it just wears, or is it part of its body? I have the same question about the gloves. How do they just have them? Is it a Pokemon whose punching power is so bred into its DNA that the sport of boxing has somehow seeped its way into the Hitmonchan species? Is there boxing in Pokemon? Magikarp, poor little Magikarp. So on a pure visual level, there's nothing all that weird about Magikarp. It's a goofy looking fish. A lot of fish look goofy in our world too. It's also just as useless as a small fish in terms of battle skills. It just flops around, for lack of a better term, like a fish out of water. Pretty mundane. It's regarded as one of the weakest Pokemon in the franchise, certainly in Gen 1, but the weird part is it becomes Gyarados. And it's not like it's, it takes a couple evolutions to work up to that. Gyarados is its next form. Gyarados, the massive size, super intimidating sea serpent who is one of the strongest Pokemon in Gen 1. They don't even look similar. They're both sea creatures and they both have those like fishy whiskers on the sides of their heads. That's where the similarity ends. And it's weird. Speaking of running out of ideas, let's talk about this Lackluster Pokemon, Klink, and all its evolutions. It seems like they just weren't even trying at all with this one. It's just gears. Barely has a face. It's not appealing to look at. It's just a bunch of boring gears. Nothing against gears, they're great. They allow for a lot of stuff to turn and happen in our world, but in a franchise where you have some of the most iconic, cute looking, strange and fantastical creatures in fiction, Clink and Clank and like Clonk and whatever they're all called, they just don't cut it for me. This ain't a design that was ever gonna kick off. Imagine being a kid and asking for like a Pokemon plush for your birthday and then getting this. I looked it up, and I didn't think this Pokemon even would have a plush of it at first, but thanks to my master investigative skills where I just typed in Klink Pokemon plush on Google Images, I discovered that Klink plushies really do exist. I wonder how many tens of them that were sold. Probably even less than that. Probably sold like 5. As we all know, Pokemon don't say anything other than their own name, unless that Pokemon is Team Rocket's Meowth. Yeah, Meowth, it speaks like a human. And how is he able to speak in human language? He just taught himself. He wanted to appear more sophisticated and human-like in order to impress a female Meowth he fell in love with. I guess this is more something that doesn't make sense about the Pokemon universe as a whole, but I mean, why haven't any other Pokemon done this? Haven't there been any? It really makes me wonder why Pikachu never did. I mean, he's out of his Pokeball just as much as Meowth is. Is he even ever in his Pokeball? All this time he spent with Ash and he never tried to form the words of Ash's language in order to communicate with him better? When I was a kid, Meowth just confused me too. I had only watched the first season and we didn't learn about his backstory till a bit later, so I just had nothing but questions. Klefki. Now, I'll admit, again, I'm not as familiar with the later generations of Pokemon, and this is one of them reasons why. You think Clink or Vanillite are lame? Just what the hell is this? Pokemon used to be animals or monsters or ghosts. and I liked that. Sure, there's a history of Pokemon resembling inanimate objects, but they still had something design-wise that made them look alive, or at least unique in a way. Magnemite has that eye in the middle of its head, but this, I mean, what are we doing? It's a set of keys. It's a Pokemon that loves keys and consumes so many of them that it starts taking on a key-like appearance. Something like this sounds great for something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but in Pokemon, I don't know. I like weird stuff, but this thing is just lame. It's more akin to a special item than a Pokemon. Last, but certainly not least, or is it first when it's number one? I don't know. We are finishing off this nightmare of a list with Mr. Mime. I've talked about Mr. Mime on a number of my Pokemon related videos on this channel. He's one of those Gen 1 Pokemon that really stuck out with me, and that's entirely due to how goddamn bizarre this thing is. A lot of Pokemon can be compared again to real life animal counterparts. Pikachu resembles a mouse. There's a fish Pokemon, bug Pokemon, etc., etc. And then you have Pokemon like Mr. Mime, who resembles a mime. In the world of Pokemon, mimes are apparently animals or just found in nature. Sometimes on gloomy, gray mornings before the sun has fully risen, I hear the sound of some grubby pigeon chirping from outside of my unwashed window. And I sit up in bed, looking out the drab world. My mind starts dancing with images of Mr. Mimes, calling to me from a world only existing in the dreams of Pokemon fans worldwide. And I start to imagine a world where mimes are simply born looking and acting the way they do.